meant to him and to be there. So we're going to keep on running the film without sound, and we are going to see Wim Wenders and some suspenders. But Claudia, give us some context, please. Thank you.
That guy with the book was Heiner Müller.
Arrived in the States, Heiner Müller went immediately to the cinema. In New York, I've seen more than 100 films in only 1 week, he said. There were lots of very good American films I'd normally appreciated very much, but after the 40th, I couldn't stand them no longer. And then there were 4 or 5 films of Godard, which were suddenly something extraordinary. Heiner Müller had seen Godard's film Weekend once in Paris. He often referred to this film in his notes for his play Life of Gundling. In California, he met Jean-Pierre Gorin, and through Gorin, finally, Godard. Heiner Müller always referred to Godard's sentence, "We have to make films political." In Weekend, Corinne and Roland leave for the weekend for Corinne's parents' home, where her father is dying, with a hope, more than that, with a mere necessity that she, Corinne, will be on Sunday evening the heir of 50 million francs, resolving to resort to murder if necessary, if the father were maybe not dying. Increases their aggressions. The prospect of 50 million francs increases their aggressions. Godard confronts both characters with quotations in answer to the violence they perform. And they meet Saint-Just. Freedom is violence, like crime is. Freedom will kill itself. In the forest, they listen to Frantz Fanon. Godard shows the face of a white farmer, of a white farm worker who's eating a sandwich. Then Malcolm X, together with the image of a colored farm worker. Finally, Jean-Pierre Calfon, codenamed Johnny Guitar, intones Lautréamont's Chant de Mal d'Aurore. I've often asked myself which is the easier to recognize, the depth of the ocean or the depth of the human heart. At the end, Corinne eats steaks from the flesh of her husband. Frantz Fanon's book, The Wretched of the Earth, from which Godard quotes, had been published in Paris in 1961. The day it came out, Fanon died here in New York. The psychiatrist Alice Cherki, one of his close collaborators, specified, "The violence Fanon talks about is the one which is brought on individuals by society to hinder them from becoming human beings. Each simple person is affected by that. The future depends on the answers to violence. Violence is a plea, a wish for change that waits for an answer." Saying this, also the position of Heiner Müller becomes visible.
And now we see 2 or 3 photos of Wim Wenders actually took, and he sent them to us.
Many Faber.
Many Faber. On the left is Many Faber, the painter and filmer.
And Godard, right?
On the right is Godard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right is Godard, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're just 2 of them. So we are close to the end of our times, till 1 o'clock. We're going to re-meet at 3 o'clock, but maybe there are some more questions or remarks or anything we come or share.
Maybe I want to say also some words to the performance we saw of Mauser in Austin. When we got the material from Ginka Cholakova, because she, and from Janet Swaffer.
Who is Heiner Müller's second wife, and maybe tell a bit about her, yeah.
Yeah, Heiner Müller's second wife, she's a director, she's living in Berlin, she's from Bulgaria, and she traveled twice with him to America. And Janet, she is a scholar who was the one who really gave us all the material, a precious work really she did for this. And when we watched this at home, we thought, how astonishing that actors, so also in German theater, are not able to perform the play like they did. Because it's without interpretation. It's without saying, me, and I'm the actor of Berliner Ensemble doing this play. No, this kind of chorus was so touching and so strong that we really thought this is an amazing document, and therefore we asked Terry to show it the whole in the morning, and she will go on in the evening to show sequences of the PowerPoint explaining something more from the rehearsal process. I think what we watched, so it's also for me extremely touching, that's incredible in this situation, not only in America. And we talked to some actors in Berlin and thought, now it's really the time to rethink again on Mauser. But I think we couldn't do this without having seen your work of the 70s.
Well, thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. And I hope it will be revisited because I think you're absolutely right. And I think particularly.
Yeah, I think Heiner Müller always said an actor should not stay in front of the text. He said you always, the text is the center. And he said actors often speak a text as if they bought a Louis Vuitton bag, or they have a fancy Gucci glasses, or have in the German State Theater as if they own it, as if it's there, as if this, look how great I am, and look, it's me speaking. And he said, no, you have to get away from it. And we're gonna hear, actually, with the assembly today, also part of the discussion and the conference, and I think in Wisconsin Madison, where he talks about that actually his dream was a theater without a commercial context. It doesn't have to be sold, doesn't have to be packaged, that people come, ordinary people come to a play, participate, work through things that's on their mind and in their hearts, he said, and to get some points of reference, and that the audience participates, that there's not a force wall, that it's a connection between there, that audience and the actors are actually not separated. It was very important to him. And so maybe it was as close to his vision of theater as it can or could get. Maybe you from Castillo, something about your experiences or how that relates to it.
It was.
Maybe say who you are.
Yeah, I'm Dan Friedman. I'm the artistic director of the Castillo Theater. This is Diane Stiles, the managing director, and this is Madeline Chapman, who has been with Castillo from the beginning, which is 33 years ago. She's an actor and a director and a producer. And we've done 16 Müller productions since 1986. We have never done Mauser. We found it, the content too rough in the sense for what we were, well, they're all rough, that's not right. We never did it, I don't know why yet. But it was really great to see this, because I am also of that time. I'm exactly 25 at that time, and so I know the historical context. And I think one of the things that we really appreciated about Müller was he really, he once had this phrase that his plays are like a supernova exploding, and they go in all different directions. He never, we did strange and weird things with his work because we were trying to bridge what was a very European and political context to our audiences, which is mostly New Yorkers of all different ethnicities, but based in the African American community. So it's a great, interesting stretch. And so the thing that we would always send him videos of our productions, and he would always send back sort of bemused notes. Well,
he enjoyed the American. We would bring aspects of vaudeville, of Abbott and Costello, or they were different. So we were really playing with American culture and the interface And in our more recent productions, we've done a lot of music with it. So writing songs that were based on, inspired by, and connected to the text. And he seemed to enjoy and allowed for that playing with, and so we had hoped that he was going to come and have a chance to play with us, but it didn't happen. But we've very much enjoyed that engagement. And if you come to our center on 42nd Street, you'll see a very large photograph of Heiner there, surrounded by young people, which wasn't a real photograph, but we put it together as one of the bridges that we're creating.
And so all I was saying about him as a director, I love that snippet of people pinching his nose and taking off his glasses, because we sort of did that with his text, and he was very good-natured about it.
So then why, as a question, why do you think he's the author to dedicate 14, 15 production? What is your reasoning? What is his significance?
Yeah. Well, it's a long story. I'll try to be short because we have 3 minutes. But because he is so difficult, there's a couple of things. One is we really admired his poetry, his language. Number two, we thought and we are, a progressive political theater. We come out of some of the same roots. And we thought he looked at the failures of the revolutions of the 20th century with clear eyes, which we know had to be done. You can't sentimentalize or cover it up, and he didn't. And yet his heart was in what they were trying to do. So it was that we felt that vibration. And then the third thing was, a lot of us in the beginning, when the notion of doing Müller was introduced to us by another person who helped found Castillo, Eva Brenner, who's now returned to Vienna for many years, a lot of us said, it's too dense, it's too dramatic, it's too elitist. It can't reach our people, our audiences. And our founder and at that time artistic director, Fred Newman, made a very important point to us all, and we learned a lot from it. He said, it's our job to help our audiences and our actors stretch. He said, when kids are growing, you don't dumb things down. You give them something they can't do, they can't understand. And that's what we want to do with our artists and with our audience. And when we tried it, we had tremendous response from people I never expected would embrace it. And it was always a great challenge. We would, for example, the very first, I'll stop in a minute, but the very first production we did was a description of a picture, explosion of a memory, and we did it piece with the director from Vienna that we brought over in one room in the theater. It was just a big room, and we kept the doors open, and people were allowed to leave whenever they wanted. In one room we turned into an art gallery with rolls of paper, and people could come out and paint their responses. In another room we had a principal of an experimental school in Harlem dressed as a school marm, and you could come in and write poems and essays in response to it, and people would wander in and out, and the response of the audience was remarkable, and so we just kept playing with it. I don't know if that...
You published also some books, maybe...
Yeah, so I've edited 2 books. One is actually called Müller in America, which is a collection of essays by directors of Müller who are American or Canadian. And the other one is called The Cultural Politics of Heiner Müller, which came out of a conference that we did in 2005. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's a real contribution to its reception in America. Any closing remark? And if not, we'll see all of you back in 2 hours. There is a cafeteria here in the building. You just sign in, or maybe you don't have to. Some of it depends on. Take an elevator up to the 8th floor, or there are many places around. There's also Koreatown on 32nd or on 35th. There are restaurants. So I hope to see you all back, and thank you for coming. I think this was a great start, and I think we will learn more along the way. So perhaps our day is a continuation of a learning play. So I like that, and thank you all for participating. And there's no division between audience and actors here, so we are fulfilling all the formal requirements. So thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you, Claudia and Wolfgang.